Hello there, this is James, and you're watching Tixee Live. In today's program, we have a little bit of breaking news I want to discuss, which has happened within the last 2 hours. We'll have a look at that, and obviously just touch on what's a little thing happening later tonight. But you might have heard of it. It's the Fed interest rate decision. You never know. Anyway, before we get into that, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. So what has happened? What has sort of been the breaking news we've had in the last 2 hours? Well, basically, the ECB Council has announced they are going to hold an emergency meeting today. In fact, 11 a.m. local time, they said they're going to hold this meeting. And this is unheard of. They don't tend to call emergency meetings. They tend to have their, set dates for when they get together to discuss monetary policy and things like that. But the fact of the matter is they've announced they're going to do an emergency meeting to discuss the current market conditions. Has put the market in a little bit of that's a surprise. And what's going on? What's happening with this? And we'll discuss, what could come out of this meeting and what this meeting is about. The main thing, I think, what they're going to be focusing on, the main thing they're going to discuss, is the fact that we have the Italian bonds are under threat. The 10-year bonds, that is, under a huge amount of threat. They're actually about 4%, and that's the first time it's been above 4% since 2014. Okay, now, and I'll tell you a little bit why bond yields are important. Italian bonds are at 4%. Okay, just to give you a point of reference, German 10-year bonds are currently trading around about 1.79%. Okay, so of course the question is often asked is, the higher the bond yield, the higher the interest rate, isn't that better? You get more money back from that. So is it better investment? Yes, it is. It means you will get more back, but means there is more risk involved. So obviously with the 4% level, there is a lot of concerns of Italian debt again. And one thing the ECB wants to try and avoid, and this is what happened back in 2011, 2012, is another European debt crisis. Okay, and that was the last time they rose interest rates as well. So now they're talking about raising interest rates by 25 basis points next month, maybe 50 in September, and they're still facing a potential debt crisis again, which is really what put them in a little bit of a panic situation. Because I don't know if you remember, back then you had the likes of what's known as the PIG nations. Portugal, Ireland, Greece, and Spain were in serious trouble economically and serious debt issues. And Italy was having a very bad time of it as well. And don't forget, Italy is the third biggest economy in the Eurozone. So with Italy having under pressure, there's a lot of concern on that. So yeah, this is what I think they're talking about. And we'll have a quick look at how the euro reacted on the back of this breaking news. And we're going to talk about the possible scenarios, what could potentially happen from it. Because they have announced as well that this meeting is about reinvestment of PEP bonds. Okay, of the PEP bonds, reinvestment of that. So I don't think this is what the market was hoping this meeting was going to be about. I think they were hoping this meeting was going to be about giving more clarity on what the ECB is going to do. Because let's face it, last week's ECB press conference was pretty much a disaster. The market came off knowing a lot less and feeling a lot less secured. So probably they were hoping that this meeting might rectify that. But if it's just about this reinvestment of PEP bonds, at this meeting, then the market is going to be greatly disappointed. And I think, anyway, so quick look at the euro now, and then we'll see. We'll talk about what potential scenarios comes out of this meeting. So let's have a quick look. This is what the euro dollar. Okay, now euro dollar before this breaking news announcement was trading around about here. Okay, this level, just above 104.14. It then rose to a session high, and it rose a high about 104.890. So not a dramatic move by all means, but it was a bit of bullish momentum on that. But then since we started talking a little bit about the PEP bonds reinvestment, this meeting, it's got a little bit disappointed. So it's still trading around those levels. So it's still trading currently at 1,048.31, and it is above the 50 and the 100-day moving average. So that's what happened with the euro. But I want to talk about something else in relation to this. Now, obviously, they're going to drip feed us. I mean, like I say, apparently they're going to have the meeting around 11 a.m. local time, so their time. So that's an hour behind me. So that would be, let's face it, 11 a.m. 12th. So that's going to be about 9 a.m. UTC. They're supposed to be having this meeting. So in about an hour's time. And then obviously, hopefully throughout the day, we might get some bits and pieces. Hopefully they'll give us a statement to give us an idea of what the plan of action is. But like I say, the two scenarios I can see, it may be this, they come out with a bit more clarity about what the ECB plans to do over the next couple of months in relation to interest rates. Or, like I say, they can simply come out and say it's reinvestment of PEP bonds at a meeting. The market's going to be potentially really disappointed. So we can see potentially the euro then once again under pressure and a strong dollar. I did actually wonder as well when I heard this meeting. This leads me into something else which is coming up obviously later tonight. Whether or not they knew something we don't. That's why they called this meeting. Because here's the thing. Central banks have an agreement with each other to give them a heads up about when they're going to do something. Okay, so the ECB, the Fed, Bank of England, etc., all have an agreement that if they're going to do something, they let the other central banks know first, so that the central banks can then protect and position themselves accordingly. Not insider trading, but accordingly, make sure they can protect themselves. So I did wonder whether or not they knew something about what the Fed's going to do tonight, and maybe that's what they did it. But they do have this arrangement. They do sort of communicate and say, just so you know, we're going to do that, so the central banks know what to do. When that happens, it reminds me actually of something back in 2015 when the SNB, the Swiss National Bank, didn't tell the ECB or the Bank of England or the Fed that they were going to remove the Euro Swiss franc peg. Back in January 2015, the knock-on effect, we had a massive black swan event, and I remember that event very, very well. But like I say, the SNB, they didn't play by the rules then. They didn't let the other central banks know. But the other central banks are clearly communicating. So I did wonder if it was something to do with that, but clearly I don't think it is. There's nothing to do with that. But anyway, moving on, the market is indeed waiting now for bated breath for the Fed. As we discussed yesterday, the market believes 75 basic point hike, okay? 75 basic point hike. That is going to be a massive event, okay? I cannot do a watch along for it, unfortunately, but later this afternoon, I will be doing a special preview of it. So about 1 p.m. UTC, I will do a special preview on the Fed event tonight, and we'll look at potential scenarios. So please come and join me. It's not the same as a watch along, I know, but we'll do a proper preview this afternoon, 1 p.m. UTC, okay? And obviously I'll do a review first thing tomorrow morning when we can see what's happened to the market after the Fed decision. Let's have a quick update with the British pound. We talked about the British pound a lot yesterday, didn't we? It was under a lot of pressure. It still remains under an awful lot of pressure. It's managed to come off the lows, though. We're trading just above 1.2066 as it stands at the moment. So it's trading just above that. It did spike down to a low here. Look, if you look, so it did spike down to a low of 1.19370. So certainly it's feeling the strain as it stands, but at the moment it's holding its own just above 1.2066. But I think in reality, the US dollar bulls at the moment are sort of like holding their breath for the big event tonight. Other key events coming up, we have US retail sales today. We already know about the interest rate decision. UK interest rate decision tomorrow, which I will do a watch along, and Bank of Japan interest rate decision. Like I said, just to alliterate, I will do a watch along tomorrow, UK interest rate decision at 11 a.m. UTC. Please come and join me for that. Initially, the market was thinking they'd just raise, they leave it as it is at 1%. There's now rumors and chats that they could raise interest rates by 25 basis points. But let's have a look. We'll be looking at the cable, the euro sterling, and the guppy, which is the British pound Japanese yen. So please come along and join me for that. That's tomorrow, 11 a.m. The markets, as they currently are, they've got a little bit buoyant on the back of that ECB announcement. FTSE plus 0.49%, 0.84% up for the DAX, and 0.93% up for the Euro Stoxx 50. So that's how the markets are currently trading at the moment. So yes, don't forget, you can always ask me questions when I'm live on air. This is what I'm here for. Sorry, my throat gets so dry. While I'm live on air, always feel free to ask me questions. If I know the answer, obviously I'll share it with you. If not, I'll find you the answer later on. But yeah, so I'm back on again. 1 p.m. UTC, forgot what time it was then. 1 p.m. UTC, we'll do a special Fed preview. We'll also discuss any news which has come out from this emergency ECB meeting as well. So we'll discuss that and see if anything's happened from that. So yeah, please come along and join me. Okay, so no questions, so not a problem. Remember, like I say, so I hopefully see you later this afternoon, 1 p.m. UTC. Don't forget, these little videos, okay, obviously for educational purposes, but before I get into that, getting ahead of myself. If you're watching me on Facebook and you like us, by all means, give us a follow. If you're watching me on YouTube and you like it, by all means, subscribe if you like. Hit the notification button so you know next time I'm going live. And if you've enjoyed this little episode, found it insightful and interesting, give me one of those. It's Wednesday. It's nice to have a smile. I'd like to know if you like it. So anyway, on that note, see you later this afternoon. But remember, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.